Buy or Sell is presented by the Robertson and Cox Real Estate Team. Looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? We've got your back. Centrally located in Radford, Virginia, the RNC team is proudly and professionally serving the New River Valley, Roanoke, and Southwest Virginia. With over 35 combined years of experience, we have all the knowledge needed to help you reach your real estate goals. Contact us today for all of your real estate needs. Visit rncteam.com to learn more.
Well, what's going on, Hokie Nation? Welcome into everybody's favorite new show. It's your Game 7 edition of Buy or Sell here on Tech Sideline. We got the entire football crew on the set. Nick Brown producing the show behind the scenes. Will Stewart's in the fourth chair. Andy Bitter, of course, is across the way. Chris Coleman always sitting to my right. If you want to check out last time's edition of Buy or Sell, you can go ahead and click right here, and it's also down in the YouTube description. All right, without further ado, let's get into our Stanford results. The first prop was Hokies win by 10 or more. Chris bought it, got it right. David bought it, got it right. I bought it, got it right. Nick bought it, he was correct. And Will bought it, got it correct. Andy and the fans unfortunately struck out on that one. PJ Prelude, 3 or more carries. Andy sold it, he was right. Chris, same result. David, the same thing. And then Will got that one correct. Me, Nick, and the fans were wrong.
Don't feel great about getting that one right. Like when a player gets hurt like that, it's like, but
I did not feel great about it.
And that game ended up being a blowout, so it's a good chance it would have hit.
He probably would have gotten some carries at the end.
Very true. Alec Iomanner, 4 or more catches. We have to give our props to Nick Brown over there. He believed in the Hokies' ability to shut down an NFL wide receiver, and they did just that. I would argue they didn't have anybody to throw him the football, but Nick was right. He was the only one that sold it.
That thing, Stanford had the ball at the end there, and I was watching A.O. Manor every single play because I'm invested in this buy sell. He was open on every single play for just like an easy little pass, and that quarterback never looked in his direction. It was ridiculous. This is the kind of stuff that if you're like a gambler would drives you nuts. This is why I don't take it like seriously and like don't get into it too much, because if you're sitting there like throw him the ball, he's wide open. They never even looked in his direction. It was an easy to get him that fourth catch.
The curse of the backup quarterback is over.
Very true.
Tech has 135 or more rushing yards. Andy bought it. Chris bought it. David bought it. I bought it. Nick bought it. Will bought it. We were all right. The fans, they even bought it. Everybody was correct.
They cleared by
136.
136.
There we go.
That was another one. That was another one. Like, do not give the ball back to the Hokies. Don't take a knee because they would lose that on the knee.
Nailed it. Hokies forced 2 or more turnovers. Andy bought it. David bought it. I bought it. Nick bought it. Will bought it. We were all correct. Unfortunately, Chris and the fans swung and missed.
That horrible quarterback.
That was gift wrapped at the end there. That was the easiest interception Keontae Jenkins will have in his life. Yep. I don't know what he was looking at on that pass because he threw it to him like he was the intended receiver.
It's funny, after a bye week, now we're talking about this, a week and a half later. It feels like that Stanford game was almost a distant memory at this point as we're kind of reminiscing here. So the standings currently sit as such. Mr. Bitter at the top, but he's in a 3-way tie. David's right there, so we're going alphabetically because David's right there and Will's right there. They're all correct 46.7% of the time. In Vegas, that does not quite win you money below 500.
Winning the race, though. That's all that matters.
All that matters. Chris tied for 4th place with the fans. They're correct 43.3% of the time. How about the fans? Dramatic drop-off, guys. What happened? You're so obnoxiously pessimistic against the Hokies. They started playing well, and you guys went from the top of the leaderboard all the way to the near bottom, but nobody is worse than myself. I'm at the very basement, 33.3%, and then Nick is 6th. He's second to last, correct 40% of the time. So we have adjusted. No more frowny face, Nick. He put the specs on, new headshot.
It's pretty close. Like 5 of the 6 between 40 and 46.3%.
Yeah.
Like it's still anybody's
game. Except I might be out
probably
of it.
yours.
And we're all lousy at it.
Yes.
If we're all
we all
sub 50%, it's pretty bad.
Yeah. All right, let's get into our props for this week, and we have some good ones. I'd like to say that I have changed my philosophy. Beforehand, like everybody else, I took it seriously, right? The props came out, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do a little bit of research, have some evidence to back these picks, and that has proved to be I know nothing. So instead, I'm just going to say buy or sell, essentially.
I remember when I bet on a college basketball game one time. This was back when I was in college. And I spent a while researching this game. And I felt like I had it right. And I lost it on a 75-footer at the buzzer. So
there you go.
Sometimes it's just, you got to flip a coin.
Can't go with the vibes, man.
How about the game against NC State after J-Rob got hurt and Tech had to go to Raleigh to play a basketball game?
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, man, they're going to get destroyed. And that wound up being, what was it, 46-24? That's a game.
48 to
Very
24.
weird game.
Very decent, high-scoring football game.
No doubt. Andy, I'm proud to report. Remember how you said piggybacking of having no knowledge of ball here. Raza and I's betting show, we were back-to-back 1 in 5 weeks. We're back. We went 4-2 this past week.
There you go. So we don't have to fade you this time.
True. And we picked Ohio State. They just barely whiffed on that one. And we picked Pitt to cover at 3, and they won by 2.
I got both of those wrong in our pick'em that we do
There we go.
with David each week.
There we go. All right, let's get into this week's props. We got John Love, 2 or more made field goals this week. We'll start it with Chris.
I sold it. It's a really good question because of how good BC's defense is in the red zone. But I actually have him kicking 1 field goal this week, and I think Tech will do a little bit better in the red zone than opposing teams have.
Andy?
I bought it. I mean, if he's in range, he's pretty automatic. And I think, BC's red zone, which I didn't know until we talked about it in the podcast, but makes me feel better about that one. So bought it.
There you go.
I bought it. So for those of you watching this, if you haven't checked out our preview, BC opponents have been in the red zone 20 times, and Boston College has only given up 5 touchdowns. And that percentage is number 2 in the country. So I picked Tech to score 30. I've got Love kicking 3 field goals, so I bought it.
There we go. Nick, he bought it as well. David, he sold it. Will, what are the fans doing?
Well, we haven't put the article up yet, have we?
No.
Oh, we haven't. Okay, there we go. We don't have fan results this week. That's all right. Sorry, fans. We'll still
It's a short week.
We'll still put it in the algorithm for the standings, no doubt.
Yeah, we're all discombobulated
once we put it
it's a
up.
short week.
There we go. And then for this one, I sold it. After we got into the conversation of the red zone defense, I didn't feel great about selling it, but it actually fits into my prediction. I got the Hokies winning it 24-17. That means that's 3 touchdowns and a field goal.
It could be 8 field goals.
It
You
could
never
be
know.
8 field goals. Very well could. Kyron Drones, 1 or more rushing touchdowns. We'll start it with Andy.
I sold this one. I think it's 50-50 this year with him on scoring rushing touchdowns. I like BC's rushing defense, and I also, just like Bashal Tutin's nose for the end zone. So if somebody's going to get in, maybe multiple times, I think it's Tutin, and maybe Drones doesn't have the opportunity.
Sure. What you got, Chris?
It's literally 50-50, like you said. He has 3 touchdowns in 6 games. I bought it, but that's a coin flip.
How about you, Will?
I bought it, and I'm not sure what my logic there was with BC being so good against preventing rushing TDs in the red zone. I think I did this to get some separation, so I bought it.
Well, Drones had like a huge rushing game last year at BC, like 135 yards. Didn't get in the end zone, though.
Interesting. Nick bought this one. David bought this one, and I bought this one as well. Again, no serious logic because I got to change my philosophy. Castellanos, 40 or more rushing yards. We'll start it with Will.
I am selling that because I read Chris's preview before I made my picks, and he hasn't been over 40 yards in a long time, like 5 games or so. And we think he's injured. They're not saying, but so I sold that. I don't think he'll get there.
Andy?
I bought it, and I feel horrible about this pick. I saw the stats, and I saw the -9 last week against UVA, but I'm like, extra time, he'll be healthy, bigger game Thursday night. I think if he's going to run, this would be the night to do it. I am not confident in this pick at all, but I made it. So, let's hopefully get some separation. Virginia Tech does not typically always stop the running quarterbacks. I think there's an opportunity there if he does take off and run. I just don't know if he's actually going to do it.
I sold it. His last 4 games have been the 4 worst games of his career from a rushing standpoint. So I sold it. That said, we're talking about a Virginia Tech rush defense that has struggled with mobile quarterbacks, and with the bye week, you never know. All it takes is like one good.
It takes
25 or 30 or
one
30
defensive
yarder.
end crashing down on the read play, and he's running off the sideline, and you're at 40 yards right there.
Boom. Nick went ahead and sold this thing. David went ahead and sold this thing. I sold it as well, and it goes back to the health. And I'm disappointed in myself. It's Castellanos, guys, and I said Castellanos, so my apologies. Quan Felton, 50 or more receiving yards. We'll start it with Chris.
I sold it, again, for no particular reason, although I'll say that probably Ollie Jennings will get more time this week and could be more of a factor in the passing game. So in theory, that would take everybody else down slightly.
Andy?
I bought it. You got going at Stanford, and his relative lack of production this season hasn't been for lack of trying. Like, they've been targeting him quite a bit, so I think they'll continue to target him, and I think they figured maybe some things out in Stanford, and he keeps it going.
Will?
I'm selling it. I agree with Andy that Felton is trending up. So this is a completely logic-free contrarian pick. I'm selling it.
All right. Nick went ahead and bought this thing. David went ahead and sold it, and I sold it. Although I'll tell you what, I'm not feeling great about it because think about when he's had his big deep shots. You know, they take one and he's got the drone strike type play. It was against Syracuse on Thursday night. I want to say he did it against either Pitt or Wake Forest or both. Pittsburgh. So it was Pitt, and that was, again, it was dark out night game in Lane Stadium. You got a Thursday night. He seems to show out when the lights are on at Lane.
It kind of actually reminds me, Will, you obviously remember in 1999 when Andre Davis called those deep balls. And then it didn't happen in 2000.
I was about to say the same thing.
It was so close to happening on so many times, but it was just off. And then finally, that Thursday night game in the third quarter against West Virginia, they finally connected on that deep ball.
Yeah, and Vic's whole attitude was finally.
Yes.
You know, he wasn't even happy. He was just like, finally.
Maybe that's what we got cooking up on Thursday night here. All right. Last one, Donovan Ezeiruaku, the big defensive end, star player for Boston College, 2 or more sacks. We'll start it here. Nick's selling it. David is buying it, and then I'm buying it as well. He's just a force to be reckoned with. He's a difference maker.
He has had 2 or more sacks in 50% of his games this year. I'm selling it.
Okay.
I don't know why. I really have no idea why. But yeah. I think Tech is going to focus on the run. I think, like Stanford, they'll have around 20 pass attempts, maybe under 20 pass attempts.
That'd be ideal.
I don't think he'll get as many chances, but because of that, just like Stanford didn't get a lot of chances last week. Not that Stanford has anybody like him, but yeah, I'm selling it.
I sold it. I don't feel great about it.
I don't feel great about anything.
I don't feel great about like 3 or 4 of these picks this week. It's just you get to the quarterback at the same time as somebody else. Like, okay, that's a half a sack. To get 2 complete ones by yourself, it's tough. It's tough to do. I think he'll have an opportunity because he seems to have opportunities every week. But I'll sold it, and I don't feel great about it.
What about you, Will?
I sold it. He averages 1.5 a game. I'm kind of with Chris. I think Tech is going to focus on the running game, and it's a bit of a contrarian pick because he's a great player, but it also lines up with his stats. He averages 1.5, and I'm saying this game he's not going to get the 2.
There we go. All right. As always, we appreciate our sponsor, First Bank and Trust Company. Fellas, looking forward to a fun one on Thursday. Will, you're going to be there in the seats?
No, I'm traveling this weekend for a family thing, and I actually wanted to toss in there that Buy or Sell is sponsored by Robertson and Cox Real Estate.
Perfect.
I forgot to put that in the script.
No worries. No worries. I let's see. I might be able to scroll down to the bottom. Chris, where are you watching from while I try and find this one?
Well, my seats are in, God, what section? It's the section formerly known as Section 3.
Okay.
But I actually haven't sat in those seats so far this year. I've actually gone down to the south end zone and found like a random empty seat. I kind of like the view from like the end where you can see the play from
the plays
like,
develop.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where I always sat in the dome. We were high in the end zone because we like to watch it all develop. Chris, let me pitch this to you. It's our one game where all the students, all of us seniors, are doing our we're not working the game, one last time sitting in at the top of the north end zone. We're going to have all the underclassmen work the game.
So which bars are you going to before the game?
Yeah, we don't know yet, but let's figure it out. We'll meet up with you. All right, we'll see you.
Never turn down an invite to a bar.
Man,
there we
you're
go.
making me jealous.
And of course, the show is brought to you by Robertson and Cox Real Estate Team. Tech Sideline podcast brought to you by Robertson and Cox Real Estate Team. Looking to buy or sell, invest in real estate? We've got your back. Centrally located in Radford, Virginia, the RNC team is proudly and professionally serving the New River Valley, Roanoke, and Southwest Virginia. With over 35 combined years of experience, we have all the knowledge needed to help you reach your real estate goals and have the best experience possible. Contact us today or feel free to reach us with all your real estate needs at rncteam.com to learn more. All right. For Will Stewart, for Nick Brown, Andy Bitter, Chris Coleman, I'm Giovanni Heater saying so long. Enjoy the ball game Thursday night.